Jane is a 10-year-old girl who has pretty average scoring. She was measured on verbal and nonverbal, general cognitive ability, intellectual functioning, overall thinking and reasoning abilities, and she scored approximately 42% above her peers, which is fairly average. Her verbal reasoning and concept formation was measured with the Verbal Comprehension Index, and she approximately scored 61% above her peers, which is still fairly average. For her nonverbal reasoning abilities, that was measured with the Perceptual Reasoning Index. And again, average range, she scored approximately 55% above her peers. What was another average score was her speed of processing abilities, which was measured by the Processing Speed Index, and she scored about 27% above her peers, which again is fairly average. What was interesting, however, is that her working memory abilities, she scored significantly lower in the lower range, only 18% above her peers. So this means that her working memory abilities, her ability to hold information in her short-term memory, and perform a simultaneous action at the same time, it was impossible. She had difficulty doing so. And this is very common with children who are experiencing academic difficulty within the classroom. What was interesting, however, is that she did significantly perform higher on the arithmetic subtest, which is interesting because that type of subtest, arithmetic in general, requires attention, concentration, mental control, but arithmetic is special in that it does need for the individual to have the capability of solving numerical operations and having mathematical reasoning. Her best performance overall was among the nonverbal reasoning tasks, which means that she can look at an incomplete picture or object, have missing or potential missing items right next to it, and she'd be able to pick out which one is correct. But her lowest score was in the block design, which means that her ability to recognize or analyze whole relationships when presented spatially, she just had difficulty doing it. Her strength is in processing and abstract reasoning skills, but her weaknesses rely on mentally organizing visual information and spatiality. So what I would recommend is the parents work with the child, whether it be with a tutor or with special ed classes, not to put an emphasis on higher grades, so there's not as much pressure on the child, but also just different ways of processing information. So chunking is a great form of holding information in short-term memory.